Yeah, definitely. You know, this was a high-profile case, and the two parties were actually want to win the case through public opinion. You know, they were using the media to push their case across. So you have NDC lawyers who were putting on they're not putting on their legal spectacles. They were rather doing a lot of political analysis of the whole case. You see two lawyers actually not presenting the facts as it is. The judges have to come out at times warn some of them. You can't remember lawyer Maliba was warned for making certain statements, and some lawyers were not actually helping in the proceedings. So it was a difficult case. But when it came to the media, it was difficult because, excuse me, we have media people who actually did not understand the proceedings. It was a legal proceedings. It was not a normal football commentary. So you should be very careful. And most of our media houses did not engage the service of experts. And especially when they engage services of experts, they were politically biased. So instead of looking at the case as it is, they were actually playing political game with the whole proceedings. And so it brought tension. And then these local stations who look like language, they didn't understand the producer, so they became very intimidating. And then, it's like the more you shout and scream, and then it became the battle between Sir John and Asedu Ketia. But Asedu Ketia was very smart. But Sir John goes all out. But Asedu Ketia is not a lawyer. So he when he plays around, he knows how to. But Sir John being a lawyer, we're expecting a higher standard from Sir John. But he also got into the whole story. And then, he was so excited at on my FM, and he was giving,
So all those things led to the contempt case.
Definitely. Because people now started intimidating, insulting, exposing the bench to public hatred, ridicule, and contempt. And then they also were making serious prejudicial statements. I cited the president for making serious prejudicial statements when he came out to say that, as for him, he knows that at the end of the day, he will win because God is on his side. And so many people made a lot of contemptuous statements to the extent that at the beginning, the judges were somewhat sympathetic. They allowed most of these contentious statements to go, and it got to a stage they could not contain it. Some of the newspapers were doing a lot of reportage, and others were being actually not fair to the proceedings and the other parties. So the judges now started stamping the authority. You realize that some of us were calling for the judges to kind of whip.
I remember you did
yes,
at the time.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's watch some of these incidents of contempt from the court.
When we issued our final touchline warning, that was on Monday, since then it has come to our notice that Mr. Sam Awoku, and I understand he's been coming to court. I've never known him anyway. But if he's here, we may like to, that he reacted to that statement in a certain way. Is he here?
My lords, I offer an unconditional apology and withdraw the comment and the choice of words that were used, which might have embarrassed the court or embarrassed your lordships on that said program yesterday.
What did you say on that program?
On that program, tempers flared up. It was a political discussion, and my colleague from the other side, from the NDC, did make a comment that did infuriate me. That is no justification to have followed suit, to have embarrassed the court. Though he did indicate that all these things that we are going to court for will amount to nothing. I got infuriated, and I also said, when these comments come, and orders from the court who does not cover that, then it's selective. But upon sober reflection, I withdraw those words and those comments unreservedly.
It is quite apparent that a pompous show of private power in the pursuit of the right to engage in political organizations and activity by which the passions of the humble members of society are stirred up on deliberately false political propaganda is a recipe for chaos and conflict in this country. We have seen the Kenyan precedent in this context, and much as we are concerned not to exercise our undoubted powers as a court of law with iron fist, we cannot allow the emergence of over 90 subjects in this country, as we said on the 24th day of June 2013. However, in order to show that we mean well for this country with regard to the exercise of our awesome powers, we have decided to stop short of invoking our powers of contempt, and we invoke in the alternative our power to control the attendance of our proceedings as a public court by members of the public. We take judicial notice of the fact that Mr. Samuel Awuku has been attending the proceedings of this court in this ongoing case. We think that the exclusion of Mr. Samuel Awuku from attending the proceedings of this court for the rest of the duration of this case should suffice for a start in this direction. That is our belief.
Thank you.
Now, we've given you full opportunity to demonstrate how mighty you are, and we hope you've done so.
Well, and so the might shall fall sometimes, right? And so that's how it happened.
Yeah, definitely.
And so following that, we also had a number of personalities like Stephen Atibiga, was there, Sir John himself,
Sir
and
John
Ken Crunchy, who wanted to know what the charge sheet was. And
Yeah.
it was very interesting because at the end of the day, we got to know how ignorant all of us were on subject matter of interpretation of the Constitution.
You realize that the judges did not want to actually gag the media from expressing opinion. But you see, but they said, look, be very careful. It's a very sensitive case. So in expressing opinion, be very mindful of what you say and how you say it. The way Samuel Awuku said it was the problem. He could have said that, look, in his opinion, the judges were unfair to daily guide. But what did he use? He used a word to show that he said, I think they put colors. Or you know, some words, and that shows that they were so discriminatory. And I think if I've used the word that the judges were unfair, it would have been contempt of court. So you realize that when Samuel Awuku have decided to apologize, then you have Ken Crunchy going all out to say that, look, if what Samuel Awuku said is the right thing,
and he even wrote a huge editorial on it a couple of times. And then he was warned.
Yeah, definitely. And Stephen Atibiga also came in to the same picture. Oh my God. Then Almighty Sir John also followed suit. So you realize that the judges decided to show to the whole world and Ghanaians that, look, they have the power to protect the sanctity of the court. They have the power to ensure that the judiciary is respected and protected. We don't have the right to expose the judiciary to public hatred and contempt. And they actually prove to all of us, beyond reasonable doubt, that they will not allow people to take the law into their own hands. And Atibiga was so straightforward with the issues, and you can see how he exercised state authority in that direction.
The subject of contempt, how serious a subject is it? How serious a subject is it?
It's just a serious. Contempt is just to ensure that people take the court serious, people respect the decision of the court, obey the court's orders, and not to make the work of the judges very difficult. So in the case of the Supreme Court judges, the moment they cite you for contempt, it means that they've already tried you. Yes, that's what it means. The moment before they will cite you for contempt, they've looked at your statement, they've watched your voice, they've already come to a conclusion. Based on that voice and statement, they have come to a conclusion that you have respected them, you have actually exposed them to public hatred and contempt, or you have made a serious prejudicial statement. So now when you appear before them, there's nothing like now them going to even charge you or ask you to plead. When you are there now, they are telling you that they are about to sentence you. So now say something. You know, before you kill a fowl, you give the fowl some butter. That's exactly what. But some Kenneth Kranchi did not understand the proceedings. He told her, look, now they have made a formal charge, so they should read the charge to him, so that you have the opportunity to now defend. But there you are not. The moment they cite you, you are there now as somebody they are going to pass sentence on you. So now you have to mitigate. You must now say something to convince them, to plead with them, and exactly that is what Samuel Aku did. And but Ken Kranchi actually did worry Stephen. Atuba was very remorseful, saying
because
that
they all appeared on the same day.
Yes, the same day. But Atuba was very, very remorseful, saying that, my Lord, what I did was so stupid. I'm so humble, you know. He did a lot of pleading and show a lot of animosity. That's why he was given a lesser sentence than Ken Kranchi. Ken Kranchi, lawyer also, my senior, is so experienced, but also did not help. You realize that did not help, and so he brought a lot of difficulty. No attachia, because he also had in mind that, look, once you accuse my client, you cite my client for contempt, then the normal proceeding is that I should respond. I should be given the opportunity to also respond, so that it will be a formal trial. And when he realized that that is not the proceedings, then it was too late for some Kranchi to also save himself. But he stood on his ground, thinking that, look, I have a lawyer, I have to defend myself. And then it ended up.
Did you get it from the posture of the judges that they were amenable to forgive any of those personalities, especially let's take Stephen, if not for Ken, or even Ken, if not for all the comments he made, they were willing to at least forgive them one way or the other.
Let me tell you something.
If not that they were still on a very adamant posture.
Let me tell you something.
And thinking that, well, they were right at what they were doing.
Let me tell you something. None of the judges there were interested in incarcerating anybody. No. That, because initially they allowed a lot of contentious matters to go. Then they standard warning. And you realize that from their posture, they forgave Samuel Aku. So they got to the stage, they were telling Ken Kranchi that, look at what Samuel Aku came to do.
But so you too? Sir John too.
Sir John too.
And then there was another personality. Yes. Is it another personality?
Yes. Sir John, that one, they couldn't prove allegation. They said he did it before the deadline.
Okay.
But you realize that they were giving a clue to Ken Kranchi. Now look, please do the right thing by following what Samuel Aku did. And even Sir John, this control statement was very, but he was forgiven, because I recommended to Sir John that, look, go in for this thing, lawyer Ikotu, because looking at what has happened, I realized that Ikotu is more experienced. He is more like a colleague to almost all the judges, and he can handle them. And you know, with the GAP background, we also having a background, we know how to manage the Supreme Court judges, and he did that very, very, very well. So at the end of the day, they couldn't have.
Because they took his experience and his personality also into account. How powerful are judges? And especially in this very case, for 8 months, we saw that the judges were very powerful. Not necessarily because they were issuing the concerns they were issuing and so-called held people before them, or hold people before them and say, well, you had contempted our courts.
You see, if you want to see how powerful judges are, they are God on earth, the judge. God Almighty is the God who will come and judge all of us. That's how the judges are powerful than the president and all the institutions. You see, because all the institutions, the president and everything, whatever the judges says is final. What the president says is not final. What the parliament says is not final. What everybody says in Ghana is not final. It takes the Supreme Court judges to say, and whatever they say is final. Therefore, you realize that they decide, and their decision is binding on all of us, and they are not subject to influence. They are not bound by the decision of any court outside the country. So you realize that because they were so powerful, and if you want to know how powerful judges are, look at the way they dress when they go to ceremonial functions. When somebody puts on red, and then the gown, and then the wig covering their ear, it shows how powerful, and then they are quiet, because they don't want to use their power to inflict any injury on any member of the society. So our judges are very powerful, and the Supreme Court election petition actually brought that to 4. And you realize that that's why some of us were disappointed when the Supreme Court, per the majority, said that, look, as for them, once elections is over, they are there to rather preserve public elections, meaning that whatever Azerbaijan and Co and the EC said should be final, and we were not comfortable with that stand.
Now, we had the issue of polling agents come up, and also brought into sharp focus the activities of the Electoral Commission and how perhaps supreme we thought they were, and how good in terms of the work they were doing when their witness came to the box, Dr. Kwejo Afarijan, who was the chairman of the Electoral Commission. How did that play out?
Before the election petition, we all thought that the Electoral Commission was untouchable, was unaccountable. He doesn't account to anybody. He's so independent. And that posture, that Yentiobia posture, was exhibited by Afarijan. You realize that he will come in when people make suggestions and come and rubbish almost all the suggestions, and then come and say that, look, we are independent. So he didn't give room for more consultation, and you realize that posture, he ignored even increase the number of people, the constituencies. So many suggestions were made to the EC by civil society, the opposition, members of parliament, even the government. Afarijan said no. So it was after the election, during the election period, when he was brought to come and account for his stewardship, then we saw how weak the Electoral Commission can be. And you can remember that Justice Atuguba said, look, after the end of his case and he was discharged, he said, next time, tell people that go to court, go to court. You think going to court is easy because you'll be subjected to scrutiny, interrogations, and then it exposed the EC so much that we've all realized that the voter register did not have that level of credibility, and it was not made available in time. Because
the proceedings themselves showed that there were some names that were appearing double,
and then some of the things that the presiding officer did, their figures. Afarijan was shaking the head like this, and you can see that all was not well with the Electoral Commission. That's why the judges even came out to say that we need serious reform now. Let's go back and reform the electoral process.
Now let's talk about the outcome. Following that, we had is it a 5-point petition they call it?
Yes.
The initial one that was read. I mean, the whole drama that surrounded the 5-minute reading of what the summary was before they said they would do the final report will be published.
Yes, published.
Okay. So no, they said you should go to the court clerk, the court registry, and try and get a copy of all the judges' comments as far as all their judgments.
You could remember that today, a year today, we're still waiting.
Yes, we waited up till...
Yes, to 1, getting to 1 o'clock.
1 to 2, actually, yes, it wasn't 2. By the time they finished, it was 2.
Yes, we did not know what they were doing, whether they were in a serious crunch meeting, what was holding them. No message was coming, and it was a difficult matter. And we all thought that because it's an almost 8-month election petition, 4 serious months of hearing.
Consistent.
We thought that they are going to have the majority reading, and then the minority reading the minority.
Usually that should have been a case.
Normally, yes, normally. You can have this. What Justice did was not out of place. It can happen. They can tell you that you have lost the case, come for the judgment. But this was a landmark case. The stakes were so high. So we were expecting them to come and read something, briefly, summary. And then let us hear the summary of the majority, and let them hear the summary of the minority. And it didn't happen that way. So after sitting down and we waited, and then quickly they came, we could realize that there were difficulty with people even understanding the verdict. In fact, as I was sitting down and the verdict being read, I was even confused. I didn't know what the verdict meant because there were errors in the reading of the verdict. You call out the quorum. There were 9 judges, but they left 1 judge. And then also there was a mistake as to overvoting. The same Justice Bafoboni agreeing for and then against. So there was also that error. So you realize that when Nanado accepted the results, he accepted a result in error because Justice Bafoboni has agreed and then disagreed. in the same vein, and it was a serious error that was corrected later. So you realize that at the end of the day, it brought confusion. You realize that my senior lawyer, Ujato, came out to say that, look, the petition should have been filed for in favor of the...
And following that, we had, of course, massive victories by the winners and the NDC, and subsequently the president and the other presidency and his staffers were clad in white, and there was all the media commentary, etc. And so, well, all the regions, and depending on which party you were, either you were Sumba or you were happy, and I'm sure the happy people would always be the NDC and the MPP. They were not too happy about it. Now, even though the results and the outcome was accepted, we still had a lot more arguments being raised in political commentary over the last year. We are touching base with our correspondents in notable regions. Of course, we tend to monitor which region has hotspots for which party, etc. We're in the Ashanti region today. We go to Kumasi, where our correspondent Erastus Asaridonko is on the line. And please, what's the atmosphere in Kumasi a year, we can't say, after the election petition and the results and the outcome?
Well, people are trying to reminisce what actually happened. And if you monitor the various radio stations, the one I'm listening to right now is Angel FM, and they are discussing the events as it unfolded. Some of the radio stations have actually been playing back the proceedings as it happened, the memorable movement and all that, and trying to let listeners take a cue from it, and they are also trying to see what lessons we have learned going forward, even with that case. Are there recommendations that were made? Have they been put forward? And what it will mean for 2016? And this morning, too, people are also wondering what Nanado will be saying. You know, he will be addressing party faithfuls at the Georgia Hotel this morning, and so people are expecting that he's going to say something in connection with the current inner wranglings within the New Patriotic Party and all that. So that is the mood currently in Kumasi.
If you say Georgia Hotel, you mean the one in Kumasi?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, how are the MPP faithful taking it a year on? And I mean, what's their mood? How are they dressed like? And how do they hope to carry on through the day?
Well, there are people who think today is a Black Friday, you know, as is being touted, and so they will go along with their black apparels and all that this morning. So you can see some who are dressed in black today, and there are people who also want to use the day to advise the party to stick to their constitution and something that will actually strengthen them towards 2016. There are some who do not agree with the inner wrangling, the Alan Nana faction going, and what is in it. And so a lot of people have been commenting seriously on the need to unify the party currently, take a cue from how unified they were in going to court and how they need to be even ahead of the Super Congress and going forward into 2016.
In the capital, Accra, if you tend to do a content analysis of whatever the commentary is from the spokespeople, especially from the MPP, you get to have an insight that, well, despite a general acceptance of the results of the election petition outcome, there's still some level of denial, I mean, inherent in their thoughts. Do you still get that in commentary, political commentary across the media airwaves or the media space in Kumasi?
In fact, that one has not changed, right, from when the verdict was handed down to this day. Especially when you go to the Central Market area, you find the market women always, you know, it's part of their speech that they told the verdict. And that one, I think, is not going to change anytime soon. There are people who still have that kind of pain in them. Even on the stations this morning, there are some who have been recounting how they felt. Some people said they couldn't eat their food that day, and the following day was like a morning for them because they had high hope as the executives told them that they were going to win. So there are people who actually thought that the next day they will go for a rerun and the president will step down. And so there was a huge disappointment which has been carried down right till date. And so they think that the party should focus on winning the 2016 for them, a bonus.
And before we let you go, where were you a year today?
Well, as usual, I was roaming the streets of Kumasi and Ashanti Region, getting feedback from multimedia platforms. And if you could see the way the central business district of Adum, Kumasi, was so deserted, people either in their offices or in their homes listening to the proceedings. You could see TV sets mounted at the various areas, restaurants, drinking spots, people watching the petition proceedings everywhere. And so it brought business actually to a halt. And it looked like the whole city was focusing on what was happening in Accra. So I still remember those things as I roamed trying to get information for the various platforms.
Thank you very much, my good friend Erastus Asari Donko, our correspondent in the Ashanti region. And so that self-denial and that contentment also by the NDC, and this one also by the former, well, it's still characterizing political commentary. You think that should be the best as far as the atmosphere is concerned?
Oh, I think what
or they are at liberty?
Yeah, they are at liberty. You need to express your opinion, but I think the most important thing is that we've all accepted the verdict, and you can't change it. And thank God, I think what is good about the verdict is that it is not permanent. It can be overruled by another Supreme Court judges. They can decide not to follow the decision when we have another election petition. May God forbid 2016. So then the Supreme Court judges can decide to depart from this decision and hold otherwise. So it is good for Ghana's democracy and rule of law. So what people need to do is not to insult. You can interrogate, but don't attack the judges because they express their individual legal opinion on the issue. So also express your opinion, no insult, no attack, and then it was unfair to label some people as corrupt. No judge, there's no evidence that any judge collected any money. And then the allegations against Otumfo and co were unfounded. It would not have happened because nobody filed a petition before Otumfo. So those allegations were unnecessary. And the allegations against the judges were also unnecessary.
You think they were overboard? They
were overboard. They were unnecessary. It was only this woman who brought a little bit problem to the whole proceeding, Vicky Lake, when he made those allegations that
was later
on.
Okay.
And
following the verdicts and subsequent acceptance and the commentary that followed by the ruling party, the NDC, there was a victory rally as well. So we'll bring you a review of that and an insight into all those incidents.
So I have with me the chairman of the NDC Greater Accra, and I want to ask, you have a celebration of a sort to mark the 1 year of the judgment at the Supreme Court?
No, there's no celebration. It's a day of reflection. It is important for all of us in this country to reflect on today because a year ago today this country was probably plunged into a state of anxiety where you could remember that everybody was behind the television set and the radio sets and the whole country was quiet waiting for the verdict of the Supreme Court. So I think today should rather be a day of reflection that how far have we come since 29 August 2013. And I believe what we are experiencing today, all the turbulences we are experiencing today, is as a result of the 8 months that we spent in litigating. So I believe there will be no need for people to gather into places and want to celebrate.
Yeah, but you had a jingle, which I listened to personally on the radio, announcing that people should converge at a particular point in Accra to mark this day.
Initially, that was the idea, but upon second reflection, we thought today is a day for us to go out to the public, have a discussion. There are so many problems, find how best we can alleviate the problems that are going in the country. So I believe that is the best thing that the NDC today will do. We've asked our people to go into the midst of the people, do clean-up exercises and that kind of thing to give hope and believe that this country will move forward with the NDC.
I am told that the NPP in the Ashanti region, they are mourning to mark the day.
Well, they can choose to mourn because they were the people who took Ghana to court. I mean, they took Ghana, not NDC. They took the whole people of Ghana. They held us hostage for almost 8 months. So they can afford to mourn. We rather want to reflect on what happened and how we should not allow this to happen again, and that after every election, people should know how to accept victory. Whether you lose or you win, you must allow the system to move on.
Are you telling us that the NDC will never head to courts on election issues? We
wouldn't. We will ensure that the rules and regulations are obeyed and monitored. So at the end of the day, the winner has won. NDC had never gone to court to change the result of an election. We have gone on to ask the court to ensure that the proper things are done. And when the proper things are done, whoever wins, this country must move on.
Thank you.
So Mama V also Abwaje speaking to the NDC's chairman for the Greater Accra region and talking about a cancellation of a proposed victory rally or a post-election petition rally. That's one year on. The party wanted to convene that, but that has been shelved just to have an introspection or a sober reflection of a year's gone by activity as to what the party needs to do, and also look forward to its own activities and also tend to focus on the subject of governance. And we still have the president of the Legal Advocacy Foundation, somebody who also commented effectively on the election petition case, Dr. Maurice Ampao. And in your observation as a lawyer, how did the petition perhaps also bring the law to the doorstep of the ordinary citizen?
I think what they did was, I was even surprised that they were able to gather enough piece sheets and the evidence that they brought before court. Because initially we thought they were
just one of those things.
Yes, one of those things, and I'm sure that
they'll try, but they can't.
Yes. So for them to gather all these piece sheets and then looking at the details,
took lots of work.
Yes, a lot of work, money, expertise here and there, and it was a shock. And so one day they brought a lot of, at least the petitioners have brought a precedent. For once, we have election petition hearing precedent that will guide us in the future. And two, they have allowed us to examine the laws and the applications of the law. So now we know the position of the Supreme Court when it comes to the role of police agents, the role of presiding officers, and then we have known what Pin 6 stands for, and then also how the court will conduct itself in the future election petition hearing. And then also, because of the petition, many Ghanaians became somehow pocket lawyers because they were watching the proceedings and it was being interpreted in English and in the local language, so that the various commentary helped people to understand the whole proceedings, and it has enriched our democracy, rule of law, and it has also brought a lot of experience to bear. Now lawyers are reading the judgment, others are critically looking at the various pronouncements, that are critically criticizing constructively the various, interrogating the judgment, and it's good for the legal profession. At least it has helped to develop the law, our electoral jurisprudence.
Okay, so now in going forward, a year on, some of the is it the recommendations they call it?
Yes,
of the judges.
Yes, yeah, I think.
How do we get the Electoral Commission to implement it?
I think then let's look at the recommendation too. Justice Atugwa concentrated on electoral reforms. To him, the election petition was nothing. The lesson that he taught us is the reform.
Okay.
That's what he said, because he said the whole petition is outrageous and it doesn't make sense to Atugwa. But the only lessons is that the electoral reform. Said he was looking at the reforms as to the voter register. He said it should be made early enough for the parties to have a copy, and then it should be cleaned as well. He was also looking at the voter register. If you have a supplementary one, it should come and see that all parties can get involved. He was also talking about we engaging the services of competent and qualified presiding officers. At least use people who can understand the various questions posed in the pink sheets. And then also he was also looking at the issue of reforms. Let's get everybody on board. And so Atuba was looking at reforms seriously. Now, Justice Joche was also looking at reform, but he was looking at reforms in the area of the electoral laws, the laws. He was not happy about the duration, that we kept so long. We said we should have gone the Kenyan way, instead of allowing so many proceedings, filing papers. And he also was not so happy that we did not use the electronic means to determine the matter. And he also was also looking at the issue of the way we fail to inquire to the truth, but at times we allow technicalities. And he cited an example of why should the EC have the original copy of the pink sheets, the voter register, and the pink sheets as well. And then they failed to tender them. And then the petitioners and the court have to struggle to get copies through photocopy, and KPM, they have to come in. And then, you know, I also made a serious case that henceforth.
Okay, so we have to, you hold on, you make your conclusion on the subject. We have one of the personalities who was also held before the court for contempt. Stephen Atubiga is a regular guest on the AM show, helping us with our discussions on AM Talk. Stephen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning to the viewers and listeners out there.
Okay, where are you? Are you in Bundiri now?
No, I'm back. I'm in Accra now, in the house.
When you appeared before the judges, what made you say all the things that you said about you're just an ordinary farmer and electrician and all that? We all know that you're a businessman as well. I mean, you have to be realistic. Or you were trying to bring yourself down to the ordinary level?
Thank you very, very much, my brother. And one more time. My brother, these are people that they are the lords of this land. When it comes to the law, they are the final say-so. These are people that what they say is final. They decide. Your fate is in their hand. Your destiny is in their hand at that moment. These are people that they can put a twist or a different interpretation to the law without nobody superseding them or say. So these are people you have to humble yourself in front of them. They are human beings. They are fathers. They are mothers. You have to speak. Let them know that you're really speaking from the bottom of your heart, because when in communication, your body language, the way you pick and choose your words, all is part and parcel of it. And I believe that, and you, in life you only have one shot, and I had the one shot in front of them. There was nothing like a second time or appealing. So you had to bring all your ammunition, your bullets out. You had to come out right in front of them for them to really appreciate what you put in out there, and the decision will be their final on their shoulder.
And at the end of the day, they decided your fate.
Yes, they decided my fate, truly. And I'm honestly, everything that was portrayed over there, this is me. There was no, I wasn't faking. The people that know me, that is the way I speak. That's the type of person that I am. There was nothing fake there. But the only thing was that was different from, you know, anything. Even if they had said, Mr. Atubiga, good morning, I would have said, my lords, I'm sorry. I apologize. I mean, that would have been the only difference over there, because the only thing you can say, whatever they say, you can't challenge them. It doesn't matter what you say. You have to just keep playing.
And so you accepted. And what went on thereafter?
Yes, I really appreciated the days that I was given. You know, I did wrong. I deserved that punishment. But the emotional thing is, leaving your family for the 3 days was like 3 years. And my brother, I have to deal with this. It's a pain that I'm sorry to put that out there today, that I may disappoint certain people that look up to me, that I have to go through pain medication to be able sometimes to sleep. I have to take 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol PM to be able to sleep. Sometimes I have to take 500 milligrams of the Tylenol PM just to handle the pain I'm talking about during the day. It is. If you go in there and come out, you no more the same, unless you are really a stronger person, because you on the negative side, you ask yourself that, is that the type of name you wanted to add to the hard work that your family put in place? Is that the name that you want to drag the family to? And on the other side, you get the chance to say, I experienced what Mandela felt the first day he left his family, the first day Nkrumah left the family incarcerated, or His Excellency Rawlings, how he felt. You get the opportunity to...
Okay, Stephen. Now, let me just ask you 2 more questions. On this very subject of you coming out of the place and saying that you're doing some kind of advocacy because of the conditions there, what happened to it? Since that you've been commenting on a lot more government issues than commenting on the plight there.
Yes, it all boils down to the support. You could do whatever you could do as a person, as an individual. You know, you try to put it out there, but it is the support for you to be able to achieve that goal is the other question. Yes, I had the good intention of making sure what I had to do, whatever, but the setback, you know, of not getting what you're supposed to get. And as a person, you do all that you can, my brother.
Okay, and I feel you're an achiever because you achieved something that a lot more people, and gone through something that a lot more people couldn't have gone through. I say good work and congratulations to you. If you know that's what you want, you always have to pursue that. So what's your last word to all those people who are in the other parties and making comments on media, etc.? What lessons did you learn on that, on media commentary and communication thereafter?
Yes, my advice to people or Ghanaians or not only the communicators that we have to put the interests of our nation first. You know, anything that we say, we have to make sure. It took one word for the Tutsis and the Hutus to be, you know, what happened to them. The same thing could have happened in Ghana. So we have to pick and choose our words very carefully and be very careful. And also, when people have to be respected, when I mean to be respected, political parties, be it NPP or NDC, should respect certain people. It's not their fault that they fall victims or certain things. Do you know where I'm coming from, right? So I use this platform to yes, it is people that make people who they are.
Okay.
So people have to be respected in certain level or given the recognition in certain... I'm saying this because that, for instance, today, nobody has even called within my party.
Okay, Stephen, that's all right. Sign up for me. How do you say it? I'm ordinary man from Binduri. How do you say that one? Say it and let's go.
Oh, my Lord, I'm just a poor boy from Binduri. I don't come from any fancy family. And the other word was, I'm speaking, my Lord, I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you very much. It's good that you are able to recollect that very phrase. Almost looks like one of the lines from a movie or something. But Stephen, have a very good morning. And Stephen Tubiga is always a regular panelist on the AM show, helping us with our discussions on AM Talk. It was interesting. And
that Stephen Tubiga has made my day so far. He's a hero. That's how I see him, because you see, it's not easy to accept your faults, and he's so bold enough. And I can tell you, I will blame Ken Prachi for Stephen going to
because of his posture,
because
kind
to be Stephen alone, the judges will not, because he was able to win their heart. But it's like you cannot punish country
and leave this one,
that's it.
And especially when one was NDC.